I'm Paula Doyle, and today I'm going to show you how to apply a mock binding to this mug rug. And also this method would apply to any small quilts that you wanted to give a finishing touch to. So that's the finished mug rug there. And what I do with that, how I did that, is I started with a block. So in this case, it's the poppy block, and it's done with the mini mosaic method. It's 5.5 inches to 5.5 inches, raw edge to raw edge, so 5 inches finished. And to make a mock binding, I actually do a thin border around that block. So I have two top and bottom border pieces and two side pieces of border, and I cut the borders 1.25 inches wide. So the top and bottom are 1.25 by 5.5, which is the same measurement as the block, and the 1.25 by 7 inches will fit on the sides. The backing piece, you also need two backing pieces, cut 3 3/4 by 7 inches, so two pieces of that, and that ideally should be the same fabric as you've used in the border. And the final thing you need is a batting or wadding layer. And for small quilts, I love to use flannel. So in this case, the flannel piece, which is going to be the wadding and batting, is cut 7.5 inches by 7.5 inches. So to start with, I'm going to start with the block. So here's my 5.5 inch block, raw edge to raw edge. And as I say, I have a top and bottom border that I'm going to add using a 1/4 inch seam, and then followed by the two side borders. So that what you end up with is something that looks like this. So here it is. Here's both of the borders sewn on to the block, and this is what it looks like on the back side. The other thing that you need is your wadding or your layer of flannel at this stage, and you see how that's just about the right size. And what I'm going to do is I'm now going to stitch in the ditch just around the edge of the border. So here's that done right here, and you can see that having stitched through by machine, the next thing I need to do is use that as the indication of where I'm going to be making it look like the binding. So I'm going to take a 1/2 inch ruler and just mark around that sewing line a 1/2 inch with a water soluble marker, and then I'm going to trim that to the line so that the flannel actually will go up right to the edge of the mug rug. Now let's talk about backing. So for your backing pieces, you need two pieces of matching backing fabric like that, and you notice that actually will match the border of the top of the mug rug. And you're going to pin those together, right sides together, like that, and then you're going to stitch with a 1/4 inch seam, but you're going to leave a break in your seam line so that you have about 2 inches or so clear, so that your backing fabric now ends up like a 7 inch square, and you can see that the seam just stops and starts there, and that leaves an opening for us to turn the mug rug right side out. The other thing I like to do is just sort of do one little clip in the seam and iron that seam allowance open right up until that break that you've taken. So Here we go. Next step. The next step you're going to do is you're going to go to that trimmed line on the back of your mug rug, and you're going to stitch around that. But you're going to start stitching here and stitch right along the edge, and then do each side separately like that, so that you're ready to go to the next step. This is what it looks like from the back. So you see there's your opening for turning it right side out, and then you have the 4 seams that actually are right on the border of that piece of flannel. So I'm going to take that to the machine now to show you how to finish that off. I have a couple of thread savers here, just because it's easier for me to start and stop my stitching on the thread saver. Now, what I have is I have a nice wide, here we go, let me see, let me just grab that and get that going right, there we are. Okay, so I have a nice open foot here. You don't actually need an open foot, you can use your 1/4 inch foot, but I just want you to see what's going on. What I'm going to do, I'm not going to want to clip those corners off before turning. Because that will weaken the mug rug. So what I'm going to do, you see the line of that seam line? I'm just going to fold that over to the other seam line, and now I'm going to stitch that line again. I've folded over the edge, and I'm just going to stitch along that line a second time all the way to the end of the seam line. I'm going right over my stitching that I did previously. So I just go all the way to the end like that. Cut that off. And then I'm just going to do every corner that way. I'm going to again just stitch right up until that, fold that to that edge over, and stitch all the way to the end. And I'm going to do that on all 4 corners. So here's one that I've done before. So you can see that I've just ironed that on, but that's just sort of each one of them has been done independently. And that just makes it easy for me to get a really nice point without weakening the fabric. And all I need to do then is to turn the mug right side out through that hole. So that will take a little bit of time. Just take your time with that bit. And when you get it done, it's going to look like this. So here it is, all turned out. And you will probably want to have a nice point turner to get that point nice, and see how nice and sharp that's a really old tailor's trick for making pockets, you see, without weakening the pockets. So there it is right there. And now all you need to do to complete the mug rug is first to slip stitch that opening closed. Then you're going to quilt in the ditch again right around the inner edge of that binding look. And I quite like to use something like a decorative buttonhole stitch right there that goes through, so you can see that actually just goes through all the way through. And the final thing is to do some quilting on it. And so what I've done here is I've just gone around in the ditch, and I've done a little bit of free motion quilting in the center of the block to finish it. Anyway, I hope you enjoy that. It's a really good finish for all of your little quilts, and it just makes things a lot easier than trying to bind something so small. You can go up to only have a 1/4 inch binding if you want. So just give it a try and see what you think. Thank you very much.